Hi, my name is Soyle, and you're listening to Heartland, a fan podcast from a fan perspective. Hello and welcome back. It's a new year and it's time for new Heartland episodes. What a blast from the past to have a mid-season finale and mid-season premiere. At this point, it's been a month without the show, and it's been both exciting because you kind of get to work out these theories and thoughts around the first half of the season, like kind of recap what's been happening and what could still happen, but also frustrating because we don't know what's going to happen. I always find the fun part of the whole longer season thing. Yeah, last month, right after episode 10 aired, I asked you all what your predictions were for the next half of the season, and you delivered. So today I'm going to read you your comments, and it's going to be fun to look back after these next 5 episodes to see if any of you were right. Of course, some of it is just like what you wish would happen, but what might not. But just to sort of build that parallel line, how the fans would have built the rest of the season. Yeah, let's just get started. So the first comment comes from Sharon. Rick and Carl adopt a baby. Katie finds she has a gift for writing. Parker will find another cause to follow. Georgie will get her confidence back writing Phoenix, and she and Quinn will marry and take over Fairfield. Lisa will semi-retire to be with Jack. Lou finally receives the recognition from her family. Jessica has a successful show of her photos and gets more work. Tim finds Mike. Tim will eventually get over his guilt of Jack's accident with the help of Jessica and Jack. Abel will find out who the woman is and that Finn isn't interested in her. Unfortunately, if no recast, Finn will still feel obligated to help Jay's family. If recast, Finn will come back and face Jack. If no Finn, Amy will realize that she's ready for a relationship and Lindy will help her reach this conclusion. Logan will start college studying social work using horse therapy. Some of these ideas could even reach longer than these 5 episodes. So season 17? Let's see. Then no context, Heartland said. I would like for Lou's story arc this season to end with figuring out how to better manage all the many hats she has to wear with her kids, Peter, her job, Heartland, as the first part of the season seemed to highlight that as a difficulty for her. I hope they also have her and Katie really work out the tension they've had all season in a satisfying way. Yeah, I feel like above anything else for this season, I want Lou to have a better half of this season. It just feels like she hasn't been really able to win in anything from episode 1 till now. So I would like her to sort of get this confidence in herself and what she can do, and maybe she has to make some sacrifices to reach that goal, but just something that will show that she's actually really smart and loving and hardworking, because right now it just seems like she's kind of all over the place. I just don't like that because it just feels like she's being kind of forgotten. And I'm not even talking about Michelle's need to have a maternity leave in the middle of the season, because, I think they did fine with that. It gave Rick a chance to step up a little bit. I think as far as a little absences go, I was pretty happy with that, especially with the Georgie aspect. Now that we know that Georgie is going to come back, it's just going to be interesting to see if that part of Lou's absence will somehow be incorporated into the storyline later on this season. But yeah, I hope some kind of win for Lou for the rest of the season. Then Bygel said, well, Lisa finds out what happened to Jack, so she rides with him in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Parker finds herself a new boyfriend. Katie gets closer to Logan. Lou finds out being a mayor is too much work for her, so she appoints Rick to take over some of her duties. Quinn marries Georgie, and later on they find out she's pregnant. Peter tries to console Lou. Tim and Jessica finds a way to sell her art. Amy has a dream about her and Finn, but instead she ends up dreaming about Ty. Caleb and Cassandra get a divorce, and Lindy gets teased by a boy who really likes her in school. What I'm afraid of is this pattern that they keep repeating with Jack and him getting hurt or going through some kind of emotional journey, and Lisa not being there for him, or Lisa's not there by his side. Not that Jack wouldn't have that support from the rest of the family, but I just think that Lisa is the kind of person that even if she was in Mongolia, she would fly in with the next plane out and just do whatever needs to be done to get to Jack. So it's really frustrating that when they're actually getting storylines like worth waiting for, they can also be easily dismissed. Then Ikra Prip said, I think that Lisa will retire or at least take a break from Fairfield while Jack is recovering. I think perhaps now that Georgie is back, her injury may prevent her from competing, so she steps in for Lisa and potentially takes over full time. I really hope we see a lot more of Lisa and Jack throughout the next / last few episodes. Yeah, the Georgie thing reminds me, I don't know how many episodes Alicia is going to be in, but I hope that when she comes back, they really use Georgie as much as they can. I would really like to see a storyline with her and Phoenix. You know, they've been this tight unit since season 6. You know, they've been through ups and downs, and this injury, I feel like, will end Georgie's dream about Olympics, which serves the show in a way that they can't possibly, make Olympics happen with their budget. In a way, it's convenient in that sense. But also, I feel like that would give an opportunity to tell a storyline with Georgie and Phoenix, and like maybe because of her injury, she has to take it slow. She can't really ride, definitely not compete. Maybe there's something going on with Phoenix, like mentally, and she needs to work through that with him. And maybe there's even a possibility that she can't ride Phoenix and someone else needs to exercise him. Maybe there's that kind of jealousy that we saw when Georgie was really busy and her friend Steven had to help her out, and she was kind of obsessive with the way that Steven was riding and like giving him all these tips, and then Steven got frustrated, like, do you want me to ride your horse or not, sort of thing. Maybe that kind of storyline. And maybe even because I feel like when Georgie comes back, the tension between, or maybe like one-sided tension from Katie about Georgie could be resolved through Phoenix, because maybe Georgie's like, well, Katie could like take him for rides or do like little jumping things with him or whatever. And so by them working together to help find a new routine for Phoenix, they will in a way form a new type of sisterly bond. I just think that would be in the realm of Heartland stories that kind of would fit into this kind of show. But, we'll see. I also know Quinn will be back, so it will be interesting to see if Georgie not being able to compete possibly somehow affects their relationship, because even though they're boyfriend and girlfriend, they also work together very closely. So would that change their dynamic somehow? Maybe Quinn even has some like guilt about Georgie's accident. I think there are a lot of possibilities that could come out of this. So I hope they use that for their advantage. Multiple fan accounts said, "Well, I really would love to see more of Lisa and Jack together. I don't really know how many more episodes Caleb's gonna be in. I think there are a few more episodes with him. I really want Amy to be happy, but the storyline with Finn either needs to be wrapped up or recast him or bring someone else in. It's nice to see Georgie back, even though it's just for a few episodes. I'm really disappointed with the way this Amy and Finn storyline has been dealt with. There have been few moments, of course, that have been like really great, and everything up to Finn's departure was like great. I think that foundation was great, but obviously things changed and they had to find ways to continue the story in other ways. I haven't been a fan of this whole thing, but I hope that it's somehow worth it. Like somehow Amy comes out of it different, like she has learned something new about herself and maybe gained some confidence or just something that will move her storyline along, because it just feels like otherwise this was kind of pointless, even though I really enjoyed seeing more of Finn. In a way, I would want them to stop with the storyline because I feel like it's just kind of awkward and sad in a way right now. But at the same time, that being said, I want them to wrap the storyline in some way and not just leave that hanging, because I don't want it to be another storyline that didn't really go anywhere and then they just dropped the ball with that one. I want some kind of conclusion, maybe. And that way I feel like Amy's storyline is ready to move forward. Then Lisa Ken Forever said, "Here's my take on what might happen. After the accident, Jack and Lisa decide to slow down. Lisa will hand over most of her Fairfield responsibilities to Georgie and Quinn because Georgie comes home announcing that she is done competing and they want to return to Hudson. Jessica helps Tim to work through his anger and guilt without using his fists, allowing Tim and Mike to find a way to forgive each other. Mike starts working for Jack and Tim to make up for almost killing Jack. Lou and Peter have never been happier and decide to remarry. Amy gets a letter from Finn apologizing for his ex-wife, who is also his best friend's sister. They split up after the accident, but she and her dad need his support and he feels obligated, although he's in love with Amy. The letter helps Amy to find peace, knowing that she hadn't been deceived, and if circumstances were different, they would have a future together. She lets Jack know how wrong he's been about Finn, and Jack apologizes for not trusting her to make her own decisions. Truth is, he was stressed, not sleeping enough, and unhappy with himself and his decisions. Katie finds an outlet for her crush on Logan in her writing, but Parker finds out and it will cause friction between the best friends. It only resolves when Logan introduces them to his new girlfriend. Lindy takes up barrel racing at Tim's rodeo school. I mean, this could have been straight from my brain. There are a lot of things that I also was thinking. Like, I know we were teased a little bit about Fairfield a few seasons ago, the Georgie aspect, her possibly working there, her being more interested in the way Lisa and Amy work rather than how Val works. And I think it would sort of be satisfying in a way that the property would stay within the family, but it would also allow Georgie and Quinn their own space, but also they have a lot of, I don't know, knowledge about this sort of thing. Maybe that's a too big word to use, but they have an interest in this sort of thing, like horses that could go to become champions and stuff like that. Then I would really like to see some kind of peaceful resolution to the Tim and Mike thing, because I feel like Tim has made such progress this season that it would be such a shame if they would go back to him dealing things with his fists. And I just want him to be able to trust the the progress he's been making more, and also in true Heartland fashion for Mike to kind of have some kind of little redemption, even though what he did was horrible and just cruel, but just a little bit of something, you know? I also feel like Lou and Peter are gonna remarry in the finale. It's just the way that some of the set photos look like. I think it's gonna be a surprise for the rest of the family in some way, and it's just gonna be this like bookend for the season with some other like beautiful moments. Most likely something to do with Amy and Lindy and like giving a show for the rest of the family. I also like the idea about the letter because that way it's closure of some kind that will help Amy understand what was possibly going on with Finn and why it's kind of this thing like wrong place, wrong time, but with the right people, which is of course bittersweet, but it happens. And I want both characters to kind of walk out of it feeling like even though it didn't work out, it gave them something, and there was care and understanding between these two characters, and it was real. And just because it didn't go on doesn't mean it was worthless or waste of time or anything like that. So I really like the idea of the letter. And another thing that I really loved about the way you wrote is that I really want Jack to own up his words and his actions toward Amy because he needs to understand that Amy is no longer 15 and she's a grown woman. She can make her own decisions, and Jack can't limit her because of his own ideas or prejudices or whatever. And I would just hate if this is somehow turned into Amy blaming herself or Amy limiting herself or being like, oh, Jack was right, and Finn was horrible, and I should never do anything Jack doesn't approve of or anything like that, because that's just wrong for Amy's character. She is allowed to have her own life and her own wants and needs and everything. So I really hope that we see a scene where Jack apologizes to her and kind of clears the air. I also feel like the Katie Logan Parker thing is gonna be some type of drama, but like not too big. And I actually like this sort of resolution because in that way it doesn't become awkward or inappropriate in any way because Logan is kind of the person to put everything to rest. Maybe without even him knowing, but just like it works out perfectly for all of them basically. And then last but not least, MC loves Heartland. I think Georgie and Quinn will get engaged as they are both going to be in at least one episode. I hope Katie's jealousy is resolved well and in a natural way. I think that Lou and maybe Georgie will help her work that out and help her realize that she doesn't have to be super horse involved like everyone else in her family. I hope they don't resolve Jack's injury too soon, as it is pretty serious. I also want Lisa to be in most of these last few episodes, helping Jack and being there for him. I predict that Amy and Jack's argument will be resolved soon as she feels bad about it due to him getting hurt. The Amy Finn storyline will be closed by the finale. It will be revealed that Finn is not cheating on her. Mike will go to jail. Jessica will become more and more confident in her photography abilities. I'm excited for the next few episodes and what they will bring. I agree with the Jack thing. Like, I hope that there would be some kind of permanent damage from it. And I know that sounds horrible, but nothing too bad, but maybe like problems with his memory or just something that shows that he was in a serious accident, because that whole thing looked brutal and you just don't walk out of it without, you know, nothing happening. So I think that would also be a natural way for the story to move forward in a way that Jack retires. Tim has to come out with a new partner for their business. Amy can finally sort of take the lead at Heartland and so forth. And it doesn't mean that Jack has to be kind of forgotten. It's just that there could be more opportunities for his character and the stories they could tell with him. I know Jack is like ageless, and I know they've made a lot of dicks at his age this season, but I feel like they should start to show that he's not that young anymore. And, that's okay. Everyone ages and there's different phases of life that they go through. And I just wish they would show that with Jack instead of resisting the change. Also, I wanted to comment because I've seen a lot of comments, not just here, but overall, people saying like Finn cheating on Amy and them breaking up, or things along those lines. I don't know if they were officially like dating. I think there was interest, there was flirting, and there was definitely like possibility of something more, but I don't know if they were dating or, in a position to break up or be cheated by, because I feel like those words are used when you've established that kind of relationship. So I don't know if I would personally use those words, but it's interesting the way people see these sort of things, which also brings up the fact that it's so important for people to kind of have these conversations between other people, like where they're at. And maybe hopefully this will be a storyline in the next episode if we see the woman from Finn's doorway show up at Heartland or something like that. For Amy to kind of go like, well, we weren't really dating, but like we were maybe about to, like, because can you cheat someone you're not with? Like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me that people see actions very differently. But that's part of the fascination I have with talking about the show, because it really shows that everyone around you has different thoughts and different backgrounds and things like that. So, yeah. Now, before we go, I want to read the description for the next episode. If you're listening to this on Saturday, it's going to be out tomorrow, January 8th. And we're at episode 11, and it's called Head Over Heels. Amy agrees to let Logan take the lead with a new client horse. Tim goes after the person responsible for Jack's accident. Lou struggles to reconnect with Katie. I feel like a lot of the things that you brought up in your comments are going to be talked about in this episode. And when I did the comment post with you all, we didn't have that description available. So all of these comments were made before we knew the next steps for the show. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to talking about episode 11 with you next week. Till then, keep your noses clean and your powder dry, as they say. Bye.